In July 1955, a Pan Am airplane called Flight 914 left New York City Airport, flying toward Miami. But the plane never made it to sunny Florida. Without sending any emergency messages or leaving any wreckage behind, the airplane and its 57 passengers just disappeared. For many years, people thought this mystery would never be figured out. Then, 37 years later, something unbelievable took place. One morning in 1992, people controlling air traffic at Caracas Airport in Venezuela noticed something weird. Their radar screens showed nothing there, but they could actually see a plane flying toward where planes land. As it came closer, they saw this was an old-style airplane with propellers that people hadn't used in many years. Air traffic controller Juan de la Corte right away called the pilot. "Please tell us what airplane you are," Juan said. The pilot answered back, "This is Flight 914, ready to land in Miami." "Sir, this is an airport in Venezuela," Juan told him. The pilot sounded scared. He had somehow gone 1,200 miles away from where he was supposed to go, and things were about to get much weirder. When the plane touched down, people watching saw passengers pushing against the windows, wearing old-style clothing and looking confused at the modern airplanes around them. After a long, quiet moment, Juan's radio made noise again. In a shaking voice, the pilot asked, "Can you tell me what today's date is?" "It's May 21st, 1992, Juan said back. He could hear the pilot breathing hard, clearly scared. A few moments later, the pilot opened his cockpit window and started waving wildly at the people working on the ground. "I need to get out of here. Stay away," he yelled. As he waved his arms, something dropped from his clipboard. But before anyone could do anything, the plane was moving again. The airport workers watched in amazement as the mysterious airplane rushed down the runway and went back up into the clouds. Juan ran to the pavement and picked up what had dropped. To his shock, it was a calendar from 1955. Later, checking proved that this unexpected visitor was really the mysterious Flight 914 that had disappeared in the 1950s. But even after careful investigation, no one could understand why the plane came back all of a sudden. The airplane was never seen again. How can we understand this time-traveling plane? The most common idea is that the airplane accidentally went into a wormhole through time and space, moving it 37 years into the future. If this sounds nuts, remember that scientists like Einstein and Hawking have proven with math that wormholes might be real. Think of space and time like a folded piece of paper. Usually, you'd travel between two spots by moving along the surface. But if you fold the paper, bringing the spots together, that's a much faster way. This is how a wormhole supposedly works, a shortcut connecting faraway places in space and time. But here's the reality. This amazing story doesn't need complicated science to understand it. Sadly, the story of Pan Am Flight 914 is actually made-up news, first printed by the Weekly World News in 1985. This newspaper was famous for creating unbelievable stories to sell copies. The Flight 914 story was so liked that the newspaper printed it again in 1993 and 1999. It became a legend, shared on the internet as proof of time travel. But don't be upset. While Flight 914 turned out to be fake, our world has seen plenty of real trips that took strange turns. Sometimes reality really is weirder than made-up stories. Would you fly over the Bermuda Triangle? This area of the North Atlantic Ocean between Bermuda, Miami, and Puerto Rico has seen many planes and ships disappear under mysterious situations. None weirder than the disappearing of Flight 19. Would you fly over the Bermuda Triangle? This area of the North Atlantic Ocean between Bermuda, Miami, and Puerto Rico has seen many planes and ships disappear under mysterious situations. None weirder than the disappearing of Flight 19. In December 1945, 5 torpedo bombers with 14 crew members took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for a 3-hour training exercise. Not far into their trip, Flight 19 ran into problems. Flight leader Lieutenant Charles Taylor started sending emergency messages. "My compasses have broken," Taylor radioed. "We're lost." As night came and weather got worse, the radio messages became more mixed up, then stopped completely. Understanding the squadron was in serious danger, 2 rescue planes headed for Flight 19's last known spot over the Bermuda Triangle. Only 1 rescue plane came back. The other, carrying 13 men, disappeared from radar within 20 minutes and was never seen again. A huge search found no wreckage from any missing aircraft. To this day, the planes have never been found. What's going on in the Bermuda Triangle? People who believe in conspiracies say it could be a hunting area for UFOs or the location of a huge whirlpool. Some even think ancient technology from lost Atlantis messes up navigation equipment. More reasonable explanations suggest the planes really did lose their way after compass breakdowns, causing them to run out of fuel and crash into the ocean. In poor visibility, Taylor might have confused the Bahama Islands for the Florida Keys, accidentally directing the flight further out to sea. As for the rescue mission, those planes were known for building up dangerous fuel vapors. A nearby ship reported seeing flames where the rescue plane vanished, suggesting it exploded from vapor buildup. Scientists have long argued against the idea that the Bermuda Triangle is truly mysterious. Despite its reputation, accident numbers show disappearances don't happen more often there than in other parts of the Atlantic Ocean. Still, with no wreckage ever found, the real fate of Flight 19 stays unknown. Get ready for one of the most confusing, unsolved cases in FBI history. In November 1971, a man in his mid-40s got on a plane from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. He gave his name as Dan Cooper, took his seat, and ordered a drink. Shortly after takeoff, he called the stewardess over. "I have a bomb in my briefcase," he said calmly, opening the case to show tangled red wires, cylinders, and batteries. "Everyone will be safe," Cooper continued, "as long as you get me 4 parachutes and $200,000 in cash." The authorities were quickly told. When the plane landed in Seattle, the FBI had the ransom money and parachutes ready. Cooper let all 36 passengers leave safely in exchange for the money and equipment, but kept the flight crew on board. "Set course for Mexico City," he told them calmly. Once back in the air, Cooper spoke to the crew again. "Wait in the cockpit," he told them. "Sorry for the interruption. Before we continue with the story, I kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to this channel. It is very important for us. Thank you very much." He then went to the back part of the airplane, took off his tie, opened the back door, and jumped out into the dark night with his stolen money. The airplane landed without problems at Reno Airport, but Dan Cooper disappeared and was never seen again. For 49 years, the FBI kept trying to solve this case. Their top suspect was Richard Floyd McCoy, who got arrested for doing something similar to another airplane just weeks later. But they ruled him out when proof showed he was in Las Vegas on the day of the hijacking. Even after looking into more than 800 possible suspects, the FBI never cracked the case. There's another weird part to this story. In 1980, 9 years after the crime happened, a young boy discovered $6,000 in torn-up bills by the Columbia River in Vancouver. The FBI proved these bills came from Cooper's stolen money, but investigators couldn't decide if someone had buried the bills on purpose or if they had just washed up there. Since there's no official answer, we'll never find out what really happened to Dan Cooper. Some officials think he couldn't have lived through the jump, but because nobody ever found his body, many people believe he got away completely. No matter what happened, Dan Cooper's crime stays as the only unsolved airplane hijacking case in flying history. Taking someone's ride is one thing, but picture taking an entire airplane. That's exactly what went down in 2003, when two men took a Boeing 727 right off the runway at 4 de Fevereiro Airport in Angola. Even with huge FBI and CIA investigations, nobody ever found it. In May 2003, two airport workers got on the plane and started moving it down the runway. Ben Padilla was an American pilot, while John Mutantu was a mechanic from the Republic of Congo. Both had permission to work on the plane, but neither one was allowed to fly it. The control tower watched the plane move in a jerky way and tried to talk to them. "Please answer," they called on the radio over and over, but they got no response. Before anyone could stop them, the plane flew off into the sunset and nobody has seen it since. What happened to the plane? It's all guessing. Padilla and Mutantu might have taken it to make money for themselves, planning to sell pieces, or they might have done it for the owner's insurance money. The plane's owner, Maury Joseph, had been accused of fraud before, making many people think he paid the men to steal it. But it's just as unclear whether the plane made it to wherever it was going or crashed into the ocean. Nobody has ever found the plane, its pieces, or any crash remains. What happened to Amelia Earhart? She was a record-setting pioneer, best-selling writer, and the first woman to fly alone across the Atlantic Ocean. In July 1937, Earhart and navigator Fred Noonan left New Guinea on one of the last parts of her famous try to fly around the world. Even though they started well, their plane never made it to where it was supposed to go. When she never showed up again, Earhart was officially declared dead in 1939. Nobody knows for certain what happened. One popular idea is that Earhart had to make an emergency landing on or near empty Gardner Island in the West Pacific Ocean. Without a working plane, she and Noonan might have spent the rest of their lives stuck there. Different trips to the island have found odd items, including a woman's shoe from the 1930s and homemade tools. In 1940, British officials discovered a skeleton on a far-off part of the island. Testing suggests it might have belonged to a woman of European background. However, no plane or crash pieces have been found on or near the island, making people doubt the stranded theory. Others think Earhart was caught and killed by Japanese soldiers after crash landing in Japanese-controlled Marshall Islands. But because there's no proof for these ideas, the most likely theory is that Earhart crashed into the sea after radio problems and bad weather. Since 2002, deep-sea exploration company Nautilus has searched nearly 2,000 square nautical miles, using sonar around the area Earhart might have crashed. They've found no sign of wreckage. Until that hard-to-find plane is discovered, this famous aviator's fate will stay a mystery. In 1972, one woman had extremely good and bad luck at the same time while flying over Czechoslovakia. Vesna Vulovic holds the Guinness World Record for living through the highest fall without a parachute. The Serbian flight attendant fell 33,330 feet after a briefcase bomb went off in her plane's luggage area. Not only did she live, but she got completely better and even asked for her flight attendant job back. What let her survive? Besides amazing luck, Vesna was stuck behind a food cart in the plane's back part when it exploded. While most passengers got sucked out right away, Vesna stayed wedged in place. The tail part fell to earth and landed on a wooded mountainside in Czechoslovakia, where trees and deep snow softened the fall. Doctors think Vesna's low blood pressure might have stopped her heart from bursting on impact. Because her heart and blood vessels were under less pressure, her heart was less likely to break during impact. Right after the crash, a nearby villager heard Vesna calling for help and brought her to a hospital. She spent days unconscious with broken bones and temporary paralysis from the waist down. Amazingly, Vesna got completely better and became a national hero and celebrity, though she never remembered the crash. Maybe that's for the best. In April 2014, 15-year-old Yahya Abdi started a truly weird journey that confused air travel officials and doctors. He'd run away from his California home hoping to get to Ethiopia to see his mother. Without a ticket, the teen climbed the fence at San Jose Airport, picked a plane, and climbed into the wheel area. What happened next was scary. The Hawaii-bound plane took off for 5.5 hours, reaching 38,000 feet. Abdi faced very low oxygen levels, freezing temperatures below zero, and the loud boom of engines. He stayed awake long enough to watch the plane climb above the clouds before passing out for most of the trip. When the plane got to Hawaii, people watching were shocked to see a young man stumble out of the wheel area and walk unsteadily across the runway. His survival in those harsh conditions left doctors amazed. One explanation is that Abdi's body got so cold that his blood flow and body processes slowed way down, reducing the oxygen his cells needed. His body likely started shutting down unnecessary functions, making him pass out but ultimately keeping him alive. But don't get any ideas. Hiding on a plane isn't a good way to save money on vacation. Experts agree survival chances are tiny, as temperatures at those heights can drop below -80 degrees Fahrenheit, assuming you don't get crushed when the wheel pulls back in. It's definitely better to buy a seat. Not all mysterious trips happen in the sky. Some of the most puzzling occur at sea. The story of the Mary Celeste has confused the world for over 100 years. In November 1872, the Mary Celeste left New York for Italy with 10 people on board. Days later, it was found floating near the Azores, completely empty. The crew's belongings were untouched, cargo undamaged, and 6 months of supplies remained. But everyone had disappeared. Pirates, sea monsters. Unlikely, nothing was stolen or broken. The most believable theory: panicked abandonment. A taken-apart pump and 3.5 feet of water in the bottom suggest the captain feared the ship was sinking during rough weather. Sadly, he was wrong. The Mary Celeste was perfectly safe to sail and sailed for years after. The crew likely died in their lifeboat while the ghost ship survived. Near World War II's end, Allied pilots reported mysterious glowing balls, red, orange, and white lights that seemed to play with their planes, flying close, then spinning away at amazing speeds. Soldiers called them Foo Fighters. Theories are everywhere: German secret weapons, alien watching, or natural events. The most accepted explanation is Saint, Elmo's fire, glowing plasma bursting from aircraft during storms. But many sightings described floating balls, not the purple lightning-like look of Saint. Elmo's fire. Ball lightning could work, but since we can't prove it exists, the mystery continues. Until then, we'll stick to the rock band for our Foo Fighters fix. These puzzles remind us our world still holds unexplained secrets. Did you like this story? Do you believe it's better to uncover all mysteries? Or should we embrace the idea that certain unknowns add wonder to our existence? Share your thoughts in the comments section. If you enjoyed this tale, please follow our channel and give us a thumbs up. Often, the enigma holds more intrigue than its solution. We really appreciate you tuning in. Catch you in our upcoming video. Wishing you a wonderful day.